Hello and welcome to my channel. DJ here again with another comment. This is a comment that should be in the news. It's there and about, but they don't explain it. They don't illustrate it. They don't update you on this news. And what I'm going to talk about is that there's a drive in the UK that benefits the Reform Party. The political party Reform. It's a new party, as you know, and it is a realisation that the old Conservative and Liberal policies have let us down. These tried and failed policy ideas have let in socialistic sense of party politics, and whose ideas on the economy of the UK will alienate great swathes of the populace, including the neglected pensioner. I'm one of them, but I'm not neglected, but so far. But they're attacking us all the way through, aren't they? They took the heating allowance off us and things like that. And they've also neglected the young aspirant. They're not able to get on the housing market through the sky-high pricing, the high pricing of energy, the attack on the petrol and diesel-driven cars. Mine's diesel. I've got a diesel-driven Jaguar. It's curtailing the ability to travel and the convenience. High prices of buying new cars, the high prices of the taxation of them, the insurance of them which has gone up, and of course the fuel itself. It's high prices. It's curtailing our ability and our convenience to travel. The ever-rising cost of home heating, the increasing nonsense of the National Health Service stating that they treat men with cervical smear testing and women for prostate testing. Since when did we employ doctors and nurses who do not know that men do not have a cervix and women do not have a prostate gland? It's nonsense, but this is what the governments have allowed come in. The Conservative governments allowed it come in, and Labour have progressing it, and it's leaving the normally thinking person looking at the scans and thinking, what is going on in this world? What is going on in Britain? How can we have children at school? A girl at school, 13-year-old girl, who replied to the teacher, meow, because she thought she was a cat. And two other girls, one of the girls turned round and spoke to her mind, and she says, you're not a cat, speak properly. And that girl was the one that was disciplined. She was sent out of the class because the teacher felt that the girl who thought she was a cat had the right to think she was a cat. The mind boggles, but this is what's going on. Britain is suffering from massive immigration influx that is taking away the character of Britain. It's causing a lack of housing and school places, increases in educational costs, increases in waiting lists for hospital appointments, and a massive increase in social benefits allowance. It is propaganda farce that covers the fact that the drain on the British economy that immigration into Britain is maintaining, and I know this for a fact. I was a lecturer in a private college, and I know that one of the lecturers was his parents were immigrants from Pakistan. He was born here. His wife, I'm not sure whether she was born here or not. They have 2 children and one on the way. And he told me that his children do not speak English. They only speak Urdu in the home. And when they get to 5, and the 2 had now gone into primary school, and the teachers, the school had to provide, out of their resources, lessons in English to teach the children English before they could teach them an English education. And when I said, well, that's wrong, and he said, no, we all do it. And they're in Slough. They live in a place called Slough. And he said, it's a Pakistani area. It's a Muslim Pakistani area. He says, and we all do it. It's because we want our children to have multiple languages. So we're going to English and our own language, Urdu, which he told me was much more beautiful than English. So they are saying, right, we will teach our children only and speak only in Urdu, and then it's up to the English to teach in the schools English as special lessons before they start having an English education. It's a drain on our resources, but they don't care. It's increasing the. Yes, I told you that, didn't I? But why did I commence this discourse with the assertion there's a drive within the UK that benefits the Reform Party? Well, I'll tell you. Because the Reform Party has taken on board within its manifesto an anti-mass, untested immigrant stance. It has proclaimed that instead of importing energy from overseas, we should mine our own. That our ethnic population is in decline, so the party advocates taxing regime that benefits young married couples, and when they have children, they get further benefits. These are tax allowances, Some instead of being see at the moment talking about the marriage. What the Reform Party has said is that people are taxed individually. So man and a woman, they're taxed individually on their incomes. When they come together, it was an old biblical principle that if you came together, you were one flesh, so you were taxed one income. But now both are taxed. And it becomes, sort of 20% out of this person, 25% out of tax on this person, 25% on that, 50% of their income is gone. So Reform is saying that less taxes on married couples will encourage marriage and will encourage a cohesion of families, because our families are breaking down, and we need to support families. And we are being overpopulated by new immigrants that are bringing in their traditions, their religions, their understanding, which goes in the opposite direction to what we believe. Sort of Sharia law in the Muslims. It goes the opposite direction to what ethnic Britons have had for decades and decades and decades. And so this is what they're saying. They're saying, let's grow our own families, let's bring them together and integrate those who have come into the country as it used to be. Now, I'll tell you something. My wife was from Jamaica. She was black, and she was from Jamaica. She came over here when she was just being between 14 and 15 years of age. She came over in 1965, and she was more British than I was. She had a really lovely sort of English accent. But people, when I mention my wife, I often didn't mention her colour, because you don't mention the colour of your wife, and my girlfriend as she was at the time. And I remember some friends, and I said, look, I'm going to be late. My girlfriend's going to arrive. Her name's Yvonne. So when she arrives, and I described her, but I didn't mention her colour. And when I got there, my friends were standing there and saying, we haven't seen her yet. And I said, well, she's standing next to you. And she'd spoken to them, but they hadn't caught on. And they said, but you said she was from Jamaica? And I said, yes. She says, but she speaks like the Queen. And I said, yes. She's well educated and well trained. But she acclimatised into the British society. And that is what we expect people to go. We don't go into other countries and expect them to change to our ways. We have to change to their ways, and their cultures, and that should be the same in Britain. It's not really happening. So I want to get back to what I was saying, and when I remember what I was saying, I've got some few notes here. So we'll have a look. So why did I? So it was proclaimed that instead of importing energy from overseas, we should mine our own. that our ethnic population is in decline, so the party does the taxing. Yeah, we got that far. It advocates, this is the Reform Party, advocates getting back to traditional education values and the removal of woke academic nonsense. It advocates tariffs of goods entering Britain that are heavily subsidised by foreign governments, so that British-made goods are sold on an even playing field. China, for instance, it subsidises steel to such a great extent, British steel cannot cope with the price differences, how much it costs to produce steel in Britain, and we're one of the best steel manufacturers in the world, but China subsidises to such a manner that there is a complete difference in pricing tariffs, and it needs to be protected. British steel needs to be protected. America buys a lot of British steel, but it's only because Trump is now stopping China's by putting tariffs on it to bring it to the same pricing, and then you buy not by price but by quality, and we've got a better quality. Okay, so Reform want to reinvigorate the industrial might, creating jobs and reducing the tax burden. The job creation within the energy supply would be in the thousands. I mentioned in a post before that Britain has the North Sea oil. They've discovered extra fields with vast amounts of oil and natural gas. We have in Lincolnshire, they've discovered enough natural gas to last to supply Britain and last until 2030. Miliband, who's the environmental minister, has legally banned any company from actually mining this gas, from bringing it out of the ground. So instead, we're going to import it from other countries. We're at the mercy of other countries. We're at the mercy of other countries' prices when we've got our own. This is what Biden did in America, and Trump's now said, right, we want to reopen them again. We want to be energy sufficient. And we in Britain should want to be energy sufficient. We should not be relying on foreign countries to supply our energy needs when we've got the wherewithal to do it ourselves. We must, as they said, as Reform said, I'm not backing a political party, although it seems as if I am, but I'm backing the ideas, and the ideas that we should reinvigorate our industries. We could get thousands of jobs in the energy field if we chose to mine our own energy. That's there. It's there. Instead, the government we've got now is talking about windfall taxes on the oil companies and the natural gas companies. They are talking about extra taxes on their corporate taxes, their windfall taxes, their income taxes, their profit taxes, and we're driving them away. And then we'll be solely reliant, what Ed Miliband's saying, is on renewable energy. Windmills that do not work when the wind drops. Windmills that are built on fertile farm land. I've seen on the way down south, you go through Bristol and you see loads of windmills. And I saw a large field, and it was full of panels, solar panels, all over the whole field. And I'm thinking, that could be used for growing crops. Instead, it's got all these solar power on, and the sun dropped, and I thought, they're not working. The wind's dropped, the windmills are not working. They cost a fortune to build these windmills and a fortune to maintain. And, you're thinking, we could have natural gas and oil straight out of the land and out to sea. Think in the 80s, Margaret Thatcher, she's closed down all the mines. The mine workers were a bugbear to her. They kept going on strike. I remember, I shouldn't say this, it gives my age away, but Winston Churchill, the miners were starving, and the mines weren't nationalised. They were owned by private owners, and they were starving. The owners owned the shops, so they got this pittance of a wage, and they gave the money to the wives, and the wives went and bought from the shops. So their money went from their wages went tax into the shopping. So the owners got it all. The housing was mostly owned by the mine owners. So everything went back to the mine owners. So it was just a circular basis. And the wages were so low, the miners went on strike. And Churchill sent in the police. And they still stayed on strike and were marching. So Churchill sent in the army. And the army was ordered to lower their rifles with bayonets on and walk forward. So the miners' wives came forward and stood in front of the men, thinking they won't stab us. The soldiers were ordered to march forward with bayonets lowered. So they put the children in front of the wives and the wives in front of the miners, and the soldiers marched forward and the miners went back to work. Margaret Thatcher couldn't do that any longer, so she just closed the mines. They're now flooded. It would take a lot of money to reopen coal mines, and most people now don't have coal fires. But, there is a wasted resource under our land. We still have coal-fired generators generating electricity. The mines could be opened and can continue to feed the generators instead of importing it. So that's all I've got to say. That's why I think that reform's being so popular, because they're saying let's subsidise married couples, let's subsidise couples with children, let's open up our natural resources, gas, gas, oil, and let's get our industries working and put tariffs on. Well, of course, that's Trump as well from Farage, but put tariffs on goods coming in that we can make ourselves, but people are buying overseas because they're subsidised by their governments. So I want your comments. Please make your comments, and also press that like button, because as you know, it doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't cost you a cent, it doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free. So please press the subscribe button. If you like these little broadcasts, this is the longest I've made. I promised you they'd be brief. But if you like them, then please press the like button. So it's subscribe, like, and comment. And that's going to be the last broadcast for today, which is Saturday. And I'll give you another one on Sunday. Well, I'm going away on Sunday for a while, but I might be able to get one in. I'll see. So until then, I want to say bye for now.